Before we get to the episode, I wanted to let you know that the following interview was recorded prior to COVID-19 and social distancing. Since that time, I was laid off from Strand Bookstore here in New York City, where I worked and hosted their official podcast, The Strandcast. My intention is to continue producing Talk Music Talk, although remotely and including forthcoming Instagram Live interviews. Therefore, I've set up a GoFundMe to assist with the cost of producing a podcast. If you like Talk Music Talk, I'd appreciate any contribution at GoFundMe.com/Talk Music Talk. Again, that's GoFundMe.com/Talk Music Talk. Link in the show notes, of course. Any help is appreciated, and thank you in advance. And now for the show. Hello there, and welcome to a brand new episode of Talk Music Talk with Boice. I am Boice, and this is my podcast. You are listening to Talk Music Talk is a weekly music interview podcast where I have long-form conversations with people connected to music from different genres and different backgrounds, both established and emerging singers, singer-songwriters, music therapists, music journalists, and you probably know or assume that I love hearing new music. I especially love sharing it, which brings us to this week's guest, Aviv Goldgeier. He contacted me and shared his project Valipala. He is the main songwriter and keyboardist, and I am so glad he did. In his email, he mentioned that it is prog-soul, so I immediately clicked play. Heard the new EP, which is called Bubble. I was blown away by it on the first listen, and this was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So we sat down to talk about the album. We sat down before the release of it, which was in February. It is out now, so you will hear some past dates talked about. He is originally from California, based in New York, started playing piano when he was 4. He comes from a creative family. We talk about that. We talk about influences, his writing process, the formation of Valipala, and of course, we talk about the making of the Bubble EP. After the conversation, you will hear not one, not even 2 songs from it, but the entire EP, all 6 songs. You will love it as much as I do. We recorded this at his workplace, so you will hear some workplace sounds in the background. And we have a 1 degree of separation between us. Gabriel Kahane, wonderful musician. We talk about him at the top of the show. You can hear my interview I did with him on episode 180, link in the show notes. And before we get to the show, I just have a request of you. If you enjoyed this episode, once you've finished listening, I would appreciate that if you would share it around. You know that word of mouth is an excellent way to get a podcast out to more listeners. So if you could share it on social media, email it to somebody, that would be greatly appreciated. So here it is, without further ado, my conversation with Aviv Goldgeier. Enjoy. So when you contacted me in your email, you mentioned mentor, friend, Gabriel Kahane.
Yes.
Right? I ran it. He came into Strand just this past Saturday. I'm like, guess who just contacted me? I'm interviewing. And he said very kind things about you.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
He's an extremely kind person. That's fun.
So what was your involvement? Like, how did that start?
Yeah. Well, similar to how I got involved in this, I just sent a cold email. I heard about him because Chris Thiele did an interview where he said, just The Ambassador was, the best thing of 2014. And so I checked it out, and it was. And then, I was able to catch his staging of it at BAM. And I was just blown away that it could even be brought to life and just how much he nailed it. So I just emailed him saying, like, you're the best. Can I intern for you? Here's my music. And he was like, no, you can't intern for me, but I like the music. Yeah, I sent him a song about cats called Let's Talk About Our Cats. It's an album I hope to release someday. But yeah, it just really struck a chord with him because he has a cat. He's a cat lover. His cat is Roscoe Griebleton. Okay. It's a frequent feature on his Instagram. But yeah, no, he liked the music. And after about like 7 months of email tag, we were able to meet up and just for coffee. And he gave me so much information in that single hour
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it like kind of sustained me for a long time. And then since then I probably take lessons with him once or twice a year, songwriting lessons. And the reason it's so infrequent is because what I've found he's really good for is I'll bring complete songs in, and then he'll just show me how they're just trash.
Okay.
And he'll rip them apart with love, and I'll end up rewriting the whole thing, and it's really necessary.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think, he's just one of the most talented, wisest people I know.
When did that happen?
I reached out to him, it would have been it was like Christmas 2014 about.
Okay.
And so, we've known each other for a while at this point, even if we meet infrequently.
Mm-hmm. Was the Cats the best thing you had? Like, I'm going to give Gabriel the best thing I have.
That was the best song I had.
And what was it about that song you think he liked?
Aside from the title, which got him to listen to it in the first place, he liked the storytelling. So it's a song, it's called Let's Talk About Our Cats. It's about, protagonist is at a party, just like talking to someone. Maybe there's something there, like maybe there's tension, and you just run out of things to say, and you end up talking about your cats, even though you really want to say something else.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the song, you both go home, and you go to bed, and your cat is curled up next to you, because that's the only thing you can actually admit you can adore, even if you would like to say that you adore other things. So I still think it's a great song. But he enjoyed the storytelling, and that there was actually a point to it. And also that, the music was harmonically interesting. Like, not like the verses aren't in the same keys or anything, so I'm sure he picked up on that.
Okay. Is that a you thing to make a cold email? Because a lot of people, they're like, oh, well, Gabriel's this important artist. He doesn't have time for me. I'm not big enough. I'm not there. Why the hell would he have time for me?
Yes. I think it is kind of a me thing, but also at the time, it was 5 years ago. Like, he was still like amazing. He could comprehend, but at that point, maybe it's still this way. But his personal email was just on his Bandcamp page.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just took that.
That's
as an
how I
invitation.
reached out. Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. And I guess I don't do it to many people because there are not that many people that completely blow me away. So in him, I reached out to Trey Pollard one time. You know him. He's the guy that arranges strings for everybody on Space Bomb Records, so like Natalie Prass and Bedouin, and I think he's an amazing talent. He did not get back to me. Okay, but also I didn't really have much of a value proposition on that.
But there's not a fear there for you to reach out to people. Or having the fear and doing it anyway.
I think of course there's a bit of a fear, and but at the same time, I guess it would be weird for a single cold email to like ruin all potential relationship with somebody. It's more likely they just don't see it or ignore it. I think I have more of a fear of just like all of the the press emails I have to send out these days. Maybe it's just I don't want to do it. But I don't know. I guess like I think that my music is worth people's time. And especially when I reach out to somebody, it's because I have some like kindred feeling with them that I think we're kind of like into the same thing and going for the same thing. So
because your email to me was very like specific. Like you couldn't have sent that email to anyone else.
Yeah, it would have been really weird to email Leo Syndrome and say, "Hey, boys."
Yes. Because the Leo story is we met because somebody sent us the same exact
that is true.
email, but with different names. This is Leo Syndrome who interviewed me on episode 200. So this was like a very specific thing. Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Sure. So let's go. Where are you from? And I don't know anything about you.
That's true. I am from Topanga, California. It's a little hippie mountain town in LA County. So, access to Los Angeles, but very much its own weird little enclave of artists.
How far out from?
It's about 20 minutes from Santa Monica. You can just like roll down the hill and be at the beach, which is amazing. But the best thing about it is just that it's basically entirely populated by artists and musicians and coyotes. So I was just among such an artistic environment growing up. Yeah, it was basically founded by like Will Geer in the 50s along with like an entire bunch of blacklisted Hollywood people. So they needed to get out of the city and do something with the arts. So it's still home to, I think, LA's best Shakespeare theater. And it's like this random little canyon, you know? And so, yeah, it was like this real center for rock in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Like, it was basically like Laurel Canyon, but, you know, different.
Okay.
But even to this day, I think people like Neil Young live there, and like what remains of Little Feat and Canned Heat and this kind of stuff.
Okay. Wow, those are names I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And it's cool because I got to grow up with that kind of stuff. And even we throw like a Memorial Day festival every year called Topanga Days. And so I just saw music at me every year.
Yeah.
And people like Canned Heat and Little Feat would play, and Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And,
so are you from an artistic family?
Yes. My dad is he was a screenwriter. That's how we ended up in LA. My mom is super artistic. She's a great poet and a musician and everything. Yeah, I mean, she never really had the confidence to be like a professional artist or anything, but she's great. And she definitely played me a ton of music as a kid.
Yeah. What did she play?
Just Abbey Road over and over again. And, yeah, I mean, people like Steel Eye Span and just all kinds of like folk and old rock.
And what did you respond to the most?
It's a good question. I mean, I think a lot of what I started to respond to was when I went back and rediscovered all that music on my own when I was a teen, because a lot of it was really familiar and accessible, but I don't think I really got the Beatles, you know, until I like actually, you know, was in love for the first time. So, yeah, and from that, what always has struck me is good songwriting.
Yeah.
You know, more than anything.
When did your own music start? Like, when did you start playing first instrument?
I started piano when I was 4. Yeah, basically, I have an older brother who's 3 years older. So he was 7. They brought him into a piano lesson, and just for fun, they decided to like put me on for the last 10 minutes. And I guess I had a talent for it, so stuck with that. Still doing that. And so yeah, that was just, you know, classical lessons for years. But when I was 8, my brother wanted to start a band because by that point he had moved on from piano through clarinet to drums, which is really his nature, just like hitting things. He's, you know, he did a ton of martial arts, so drums were natural for him. And so, yeah, because of him, I started playing rock music and, you know, being involved in songwriting. It wasn't until probably I was like 15 that I had like put out my first set of lyrics that I mean, it wasn't good, but it was like a complete one, which is something. But yeah, I mean, so I was just on stage since I was 8, and he's kind of responsible for the fact that I'm not just playing classical.
Yeah. What was this band you two had?
It was, let's see, what was even the first name of it? I think the first name of it was AKA, because I'm Aviv, he's Amit, and we had a friend called Kellen. Who's he's still a musician. He's a brilliant violist who lives in Netherlands right now. So yeah, you know, the classic, when you're trying to come up with a band name, you just take everybody's initials and see if it spells anything. I think, you know.
And that happened to work out.
Kind of, yeah. Our first gig was, we recruited another guitarist, and it was his bar mitzvah. Yeah, I mean, so at that time he wrote all the lyrics. I basically turned his melodies into actual chords and songs and everything, and then soon enough I was writing music and he was writing lyrics, and we were in bands basically until I went off to college. So yeah, I guess I played with him for 10 years, various projects. Yeah, I mean, that evolved throughout the years to like before I left, like my band with him was called the Chiefs, who, yeah, we had an amazing guitarist and bassist and a really like fun, charismatic vocalist. And yeah, we would just like throw giant parties in Topanga. You know, it's all these like mountain roads that like The cops couldn't shut us down if they tried because they couldn't find the party. But yeah, we would just like build stages on the mountaintop, just get 200 people out there, and
that sounds great, man.
It was awesome. Yeah, really, really fun for just like me just to be like some random like nerd at high school and then go home and play a giant character. You know,
because you're this tech side of you too.
Yeah,
right?
we are in a tech office right now where I work. I've always had like a math side of me. I've been interested in math, science, logic.
Did the two ever feel like I can't do one, do the other, or they always like could sit? Side by side.
Definitely music is the main thing. I just happen to have like a really amazing day job. Like I would give this up immediately if I could, make a good living on music. Because I would find something to think about, if not my job.
Yeah. I just interviewed someone. We were talking about how the day job, in some sense, helped with the music because they didn't have to worry about the music supporting them at this point. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I've thought about that a lot. First off, I think there's a feeling that by having a day job, you have less time for music. And I don't think that's true because, well, first off, you probably need some kind of day job.
Yeah.
If you're not a barista or something, then you're probably teaching music and you're lesson planning and spending all your time doing that. And no matter what, you're exhausted at the end of the day and you still have to find the energy to do music. Except I get to do that and also not have like the stress of being broke looming over me all the time. Which I think is like, it's extremely draining in itself. Like I definitely remember what it was like before I had a job. I think I'm able to be more productive with a job. I think, who knows? Because I don't know yet.
I totally agree with that. There's an expression, I don't know who said it, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like you will find the time if you want to.
Yeah, because if all you have is an endless expanse of time, you don't know how to schedule anything in. Like, as soon as you have a crunch, you do it. And actually, this idea towards jobs is a direct result of that first conversation with Gabriel Grahane I had. Like, because I was like 20, I was like middle of college, about to start junior year or something, probably. And I was worried about my future, of course. And he was like, Sufjan had a day job until Illinois came out.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing, right? Because Michigan and Seven Swans are both classic albums, but he was like a graphic designer. He wasn't even, music wasn't even his job.
I didn't know. I never heard that.
Yeah, so it took, making like the most influential album of the 2000s to
quit graphic design.
Yeah. So anyway, that kind of just, it really inspired me that you can still, hold down a job and really get stuff done. Yeah. If you're motivated. Of course, Sufjan didn't do anything but music outside of his work hours, and I try to do that also, but I have to admit I do other stuff as well. Yeah. Like, eat and hang out with my girlfriend and stuff.
How do you manage it?
Well, what I've realized over the last 6 months to a year is that, first off, being in a band is, unfortunately, probably about like a third music and 2/3 like administrative stuff, at least until you like make some crazy amount of money that you can pay somebody to take care of that stuff, which I don't even know if you can actually stop thinking about business. But so I've started to allow myself to kind of focus on one aspect of being in a band at a time. So right now I'm focused on releasing this record that we're putting out right now and touring around it and, thinking about a social media calendar and sending out press emails and optimizing ads and all this kind of stuff. And starting maybe mid-March, I will allow myself to stress about songwriting again. Because otherwise, like, you'll just be stressed. You feel like you have to be writing songs all the time and teaching songs to the band all the time, but it's really not possible. And I think a lot of bands come to the realization that you have like a few months where you're writing and then a few months where you're touring. And as much as the idea that like a daily practice of writing is a really good thing, I don't know if it's that important. I mean, it's important if you feel like you're still really actively developing your craft, which I do feel. But after a certain point, I think that slows down. Like, I was actually listening to Soda Jerker on songwriting. You listen to that?
No, I've never listened to it yet.
Yeah, they're like this songwriting team out of Liverpool that interviews, like, I don't know how they do it, but they get big names. Like, they got Paul McCartney, and they got Paul Simon, and one of them that I was listening to is Paddy McAloon. You know this guy?
No.
He's
Is that from Prefab Sprout?
Yeah, Prefab Sprout.
Yeah.
And so he's like this like really weird, brilliant guy. And the thing is, like, I listened to several interviews with, people in their 60s, 70s. And all of them were like, when I was in my 20s and I was writing a lot, and then ... And then, like, you slow down and it's not really an issue. But, like, for some reason, in your early 20s, there's, like, this, like, creative outburst when you are writing all the time. And then even the greatest writers of all time just, like, don't really do it as much.
Yeah.
I don't know. There could be any number of reasons for that. The exception is Paul. He seems to never stop. I feel like...
He's a beast, dude. It's that vegan lifestyle. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, probably.
So you went to NYU, right?
Yes.
Why NYU? And you went for music and what? Tech
I went for music technology. That's right.
Okay.
I actually was rejected from every college the first time I applied. And that's because I actually just like filled the form out wrong, which is probably a good sign for why I should have been rejected. I actually filled out the Common App, and I forgot to mention I did any extracurriculars, which clearly I do. I got into Berkeley, but I was like, do I really want to spend like $40,000 studying music, or do I just want to like actually have a music career for a year?
Yes.
And I chose that.
Okay.
So I took a year off. I applied to colleges again, and ended up choosing between here and UChicago. And basically, the determining factor was the city. I felt like there was more music in New York than Los Angeles, and less music in Chicago than Los Angeles. And I think I made the right call, because the thing about NYU is you're just in the city and you're meeting people, and you're not only like meeting people in the scene, like Geber Kahin, but you're also like actively creating the scene. So by the time you're out of college, you have 4 years of experience knowing people who are in bands and just like kind of defining what music is going to be in New York City.
Do you immediately take advantage of that when you hit the city?
Absolutely. If not, getting out on the town, then at least like taking advantage of the access I had to all the other amazing musicians at NYU who came to New York for the same reason. Basically I showed up to NYU and started throwing like parties in my dorm that were also jam sessions. So I could just like, I was basically just trying to find the best musicians. Like anybody who showed up, I was like, you. And so through that process, I found a couple people in the jazz program. Like I said, I was not jazz program, and they were very skeptical of me, but I just showed up and they were able to hear me play, and they stopped being as skeptical. Basically it was a very intentional gathering of the best musicians I could find. And then, we started playing immediately in freshman year.
I'm sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, our first gig was for like this talent show at NYU. Like that was like, we were practicing this one song over and over again, which is called Forever. It's on like a record we released under a different name. But that was the only thing that actually got us to actually perform, was like, there was like a deadline to get into this talent show.
Deadlines are good, dude. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Why the jazz department? What was it? Did you approach them?
Well, I wouldn't say I approached the jazz department directly.
Or people from...
The musicians I liked happened to be in it. And, I think it makes sense, because, where else are the best drummers going to be, for example?
Yeah.
They're not going to be in, the voice department. And also the music I was writing, and still write at the time, music I was writing at the time, and which I still write, has a lot of jazz harmony influence, and a lot of rhythmic content. So... it was, I don't know, just a good fit for jazz musicians.
Okay. And where were you hoping, did you have in mind, to put out recordings already at that time?
Let's see. You're making me think back to what I was thinking at the age of 18.
I'll wait.
Honestly, I think that I wasn't really intending to make this particular band.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was interested in kind of my own songwriting projects. But because of this band, I was like, hey, like this song that I have would work really well for us. And then it just kind of spiraled out of control out of there. Yeah, I mean, the song Forever that I mentioned, like I wrote it when I was like 15. And, you know, I guess at the time it would have only been 3 years old, which is weird to think about. I definitely dig up songs that are more than 3 years old now.
Yeah. Polish them up.
Really felt like digging into the vault at the time.
Yeah. And so you, so what happens with this band? Like, how far are we off from, that was a horribly constructed sentence.
How far off are we from?
Thank you.
Yeah.
From Mango City, from the first.
Oh, Mango City. Yeah, so I guess
am I going to say the
Valipala.
Valipala, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we get Valipala, we get all kinds of stuff.
Okay. And these are some of the musicians that end?
Yeah, okay. The drummer and the trumpet player are the same, original from freshman year. And yeah, so we had a pretty stable band for all of college, really. We had a bassist, his name was Jono Stewart. He lives in Richmond now. And this guy, Chris, who he left the band because he realized his real passion was not singing and it was cooking. Okay. So he's now a sous chef at an amazing restaurant in New York.
Really?
So
good for him.
Yeah, it's like he really rose the ranks.
Yeah.
And so after college, so we put out an EP. We recorded it summer after freshman year, and then after that, it was just like, we were making really cool music. We were writing stuff, doing really inspired things, I think, but it just slowed down and scheduling became harder. And I don't know. It was after college that we just kind of rebooted it. So it was me, Mati, the drummer, Evan, the trumpet player, and then we found Lauren, the singer, towards the end of college, because that was when Chris had gone to be a cook already. And she was an amazing find. She was just visiting New York for like a single day, and we were auditioning vocalists at the time, and she was just like a friend of a friend that we happened to hear about. And we were like, let's get her in, and then she turned out to be the best. Like, she came in wearing like a Songs in the Key of Life t-shirt, and I was like, all right, we are going to get along, and we do.
She's incredible.
Yeah,
incredible voice.
And we're so lucky. And then it was just our luck that she decided to actually move to New York, to come actually to NYU for the songwriting master's program. So that's how she ended up there. Then we actually had a different bassist than the current one. Both the current bassist and the previous bassist are named Nick. Nick 1, Nick 2. But yeah, this guy, Nick Dunstan, I don't know, again, friend of a friend. The homie network is very large. Once you include like friends of friends of friends of friends of friends, that's every musician on earth. So Nick Dunstan, he was a bassist. He was at the New School at the time, and he's ridiculously good. He was on Mango City, and he quit the band at like right after the Mango City release party because he's just the best bassist ever, and was like, going on global tours and everything with jazz artists like Tyshawn Sorey and like, Vijay Iyer and all these people. And like, of course, that's more important. Nick 1 recorded an awesome album with us and then left, and then it took like another, 6 months, 9 months to audition for our current Nick, who's also an amazing find. Basically, like, the audition process was like, learn our most complicated song, learn any other song, bring it in, play it with us, and like, I have this crazy song that I want to learn that I don't have a bassist to teach it to, and I know it's too hard to play on bass, but let's work together and figure out like how we would develop a bass line together. And so he came in, had learned the craziest song, had like perfectly transcribed one of Nick 1's bass parts, and also could just play the crazy bass line. He didn't have to adapt it at all. So he kind of blew us away. And he's just... The other thing is, like, when you're auditioning for a bandmate, you're auditioning for like a new friend. It's like that South Park season where like they're trying to find Kenny's replacement. Okay. But yeah, he's just a great person. He's super funny, just like super sharp. He's been an amazing help with business related things, just getting our merch in order and everything. How did you know you had the right blend of people?
to move forward?
It's interesting. I don't know if I think as soon as I found somebody that like I liked, I just went with it. I didn't really question it further.
So if you like them and they can play well,
and I want to hang out with them all the time. Yeah, I mean, because ultimately, I mean, although I am like the main songwriter and everything, the sound comes from the people. So it's not like it's what's the right blend for me. It's like with these amazing musicians, what is it going to sound like? At least that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know.
What do you like about writing for other people?
Well, I write difficult parts for everyone, and I can't play the drums that good. Bass, I definitely can't sing that. I mean, I can sing all right, but I can't sing like Lauren. Like I put out a solo record last year, and any single one of the sentences that I sing on that, it took me 50 takes before I got a usable one. You know.
So are you sending her demos with you singing on them? Is that how she's learned? Okay.
Sometimes. Honestly, like I've been so focused on this release right now, like whatever the process is, like it feels so long ago. But yeah, a lot of times I'll record a demo of me singing, send it to the whole band, send them charts, and then like eventually they look at the charts and read it, and then we can play it together. But that's just how it works now. So these days I'll write a song and then bring it in and we'll all learn it. But I mean, when we were in college, we had so much time to develop stuff together. We could practice for like 20 hours a week, and a song could be built together from the ground up, which resulted in really cool stuff. And I mean, I like the music that I write when I bring it in, but I would much rather it be totally collaborative and us be able to just spend hundreds of hours doing nothing until something amazing results. But it's because we all have complete lives right now that I'm forced to just do a lot of the work on my own just to be efficient. I'm looking forward to if there will ever be a time when we will all have time to just hang.
When did the everything for Bubble start?
For Bubble,
the new EP,
yes,
coming out Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day,
okay,
Valentine's Day 2020. That is,
yes. If you're listening to this in 2021.
If you're listening to 2021, it's already out. I mean, if you're listening to this period, it's probably already out.
Yeah. The new album, you're already working. The new album will be out. If you're listening to this in 2021, right? We're going to put that out there. Yeah.
So when did that start? That is a good question. I think the earliest work that was on that, as far as songwriting, like definitely started before the end of college. Maybe just after. I don't know. I think the song Joanne was the first one that I started working on.
Okay.
It absolutely was, because I was actually at NYU. There's a whole songwriting program led by a guy named Phil Galdston, who wrote some hits. Whatever. He knows the craft. But there was this class called Songwriting Forum that I got to take a couple times, where it was basically just write a song every week according to whatever vague prompt, and which is the best. Actually, a lot of songs that I have ended up using came from that rapid kind of process. So Joanne was for one of those, at least like the first iteration of Joanne. At the time, it was called Left Your Man instead of Left Joanne. Okay. And I had to gender flip it for Lauren, and then I also found out that was just like way better. Like once you actually put a name to the person you're singing to, like all of a sudden it has like emotional resonance. I mean, it's just like ask Dolly Parton, like Jolene. Imagine if it was like a nameless person, that song wouldn't work nearly as well. So I guess, I guess that's a song that again has been in development for 2-3 years. But that also was one where I was feeling a little desperate and had to dig back into my catalog. I don't know, I guess the actual EP Bubble, like the name Bubble, how did that come about? I mean, I noticed that a lot of the songs I had were kind of about just like the ways that people kind of separate themselves from each other, or just the fact that people are terrible at communicating each other or even knowing who each other are. And so, originally I wanted to call it like staring contest, because it's this kind of thing where you're like looking at each other's eyes, but you're not really looking at each other. And in fact, Sartre, the philosopher, he used to have staring contests with people just to like have them consciously be beheld as an object, which is really uncomfortable as a human being. Like you don't think of
I
yourself.
had someone do that to me. It's really odd. Like who breaks first?
Yeah, but the problem is he would always win because he had a lazy eye. But anyway, yeah. So like basically, like we treat each other as objects. Not that I mean like we treat each other with disrespect, but it's like anything. Like if it's not you, it's something in the world that is just an object.
Yeah.
And it's extremely difficult to not do that. Anyway, so I don't know. I guess I was into philosophy at the time, but I didn't even name it Staring Contest. So I don't know. In the end, I named it Bubble because that can have similar connotations. You know, people are in their own bubbles and everything, and it's something you can see through, but also see a reflection in. But I think the actual word bubble came from my girlfriend. I think one day she just said, you know, sometimes I want to be a bubble, and I'm like, I don't know what you mean by that, but it's interesting, and I'll actually write a song about it with that as the first line.
I don't know what that means either.
Yeah, so like we have the song Bubble that ends the record, which is me just like extrapolating from that. Like, what could that possibly mean? I don't know. It's kind of ended up being cool. I don't know how meaningful it is, but you know,
it sounds good.
One could read the lyrics and decide to say it's meaningful.
Yeah. How do you see that you've grown, changed, evolved from Mango City to Bubble as an artist? So
I sold out.
Okay. How so?
Clearly not enough because we got rejected by every blog. But I mean, yeah, it was one of the things. It's funny, yeah. So like I've all these mentors I've picked up over my life, right? And when we came out with like the first thing we did, which we were called With Snack, it was called Snack Time EP. This was 2013, I think, 2014. I don't know. I brought it. I showed it to my old jazz teacher, and he was like, "There aren't enough solos on it. Like music these days does not have solos." And I was like, "All right, I hear you." So then we came with Mango City. It had all these solos on it, and I brought it to my piano teacher growing up, and he was like, "You guys got to sell out more. Like these songs are great, but you can retain the greatness, but still be more accessible." And for me, the additional evidence for that was, like as you may know, one of the ways to get exposure these days is to be on Spotify playlists, either editorial or just, you know, curated random people making playlists. And a lot of the songs in Mango City jump around tempos or vibes or sounds or keys a lot, such that there's no way they would fit in any kind of playlist. You know, there's too many moods in one song for them to just be part of anything. So Bubble was a real shot at like making a single focused sound, right? And so that would be within each song having a single focused vibe. Like you could describe the emotion of a song with a couple words at most. And as a complete record, you could describe it as like the Valipala album that, you know, has a bunch of strings and is orchestral and has this sound. Because, I mean, what I realized, which was very humbling as somebody who is a songwriter and has only ever cared about, you know, music and lyrics, is that sound matters, you know? Like, if you want to listen to a Big Thief album, you have to listen to Big Thief because of Adrian Lenker's voice and everything. Or I mean, one of my other songwriting teachers said that between, you know, Paul Simon's 1975 album and Art Garfunkel's 1975 album, he would always listen to Art Garfunkel's one because it had a sound that only I could scratch. I completely disagree with him. I think, you know, Still Crazy After All These Years is the best album ever.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right?
Thank you for saying that. It's like, that may be my favorite Paul Simon album.
Oh, yeah. Of course. I don't think there's any contest, really. Yeah. But people listen to Graceland more because it has a sound.
Yes.
Anyway.
They would be wrong, according to us.
According to us, I don't know. I think Still Crazy has a couple themes that Graceland doesn't have. I could make a playlist that is Still Crazy, like with a couple songs missing. It might be better.
I forget what show is it. He sings the title track and he's like swinging it like a jazz singer.
Yeah, and it's unfinished too.
Yeah,
right. He sings a work in progress on live national TV. It's crazy.
God, where were we?
We were talking about the sound in the record. So that was the idea. And so all the tracks on the record have a sound. They all have thick orchestration, or most of them. I mean, the song Yes came out first, and it kind of came out before I realized what the rest of it wanted to sound like.
Yeah.
But we were able to make it all work, because especially Yes has it has a wall of horns. Like by the end, there's like a 7 or 8 horn arrangement. It's like the densest, most ridiculous thing ever. That was Evan, the trumpet player, that came up with that arrangement. I could not have figured that one out.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just kind of expanded on that. I think it was really while making Mango City that I realized how much different like 4 horns sounds than 1.
Okay.
Because we have 1 trumpet player in our band, which is a very strange setup. But on the record, I was writing parts that once we made it into a section, it sounded like a complete different instrument.
Yeah.
And so I really liked the idea of exploring that further. And I also like strings. I mean, especially because
gotta love strings.
Because when you have strings, you have the opportunity to kind of allude to classical music more. And I have a strong classical background, and I love counterpoint more than anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I basically wanted to do justice to strings in what is essentially pop music. Usually string parts are just you hold a note for like 60 bars.
Yeah.
And I think there are some moments in Bubble that are like they're real string parts. There's actual counterpoint, and people actually enjoyed playing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I enjoy listening to it.
Yeah.
And especially because I realized partly through that this was essentially a kind of a disco sound. If you have lots of 4/4 songs with strings, like you're kind of disco, especially if it's like a funk jazz start. And so I was like, what if disco actually had great strings? And so that was the influence for a few of the songs. I mean, especially the tune Workplace Romance, which is essentially a 10-minute, 12-inch, disco cut.
I love disco, dude. A lot of disco had real instruments and strings and orchestra.
Yeah, I mean, even what's the 27-minute Donna Summer tune?
Yeah,
Love to Love You, Baby.
Yeah.
That has like a 5-minute flute solo in it or something. Like I can't even imagine people these days like at the club dancing to a flute solo for 5 minutes. But I don't know.
And then you didn't question it. You just right? Flute, sure, I'll roll with it. So, well, I think this is a wonderful sellout. If we're gonna call it Bubble, it's a great sellout.
Sellout?
Is that what you said? You said you sold out on Bubble?
Oh, yes.
I don't think it sounds like it. It sounds totally original. And
yeah, maybe we're stuck with our integrity. Maybe we can sell out fully. No, but honestly, like the direction that, to be frank, I chose for it was very me, and I really hope that the next time we can be more collaborative. Because I just kind of steamed ahead with this whole idea and arranged all the stuff and everything. And in retrospect, I realized I didn't get everybody's buy-in on that. Yeah. And so, everybody's in the band for a reason. I really want to make sure everybody gets a lot more input next time.
And for the 2021 album that is on its way out, that happened then. Yeah. Oh, man. If you're listening to this in 2021.
I hope there's an album in 2021. I mean,
we're putting it out there, Aviv.
Yeah. I like these affirmations. Yeah. I mean, it took over, it took like 2.5 years between Mango City and Bubble, and it's only 6 songs, and that's frustrating to me. I don't know if it's frustrating to anybody else, in the general public, but I would like to go a little quicker.
Yeah, no, I get that, dude. Yeah, so let's see. The album's out Valentine's Day. People are actually, for the first time, I suggested to you, and you said yes. People are gonna hear the entire album, the entire EP on the show. I'm very excited to do that. Thank you for letting me do that. Sure, man. And any thoughts on that?
Enjoy.
Okay. Yes. So, best place for people to get the music, keep up with you online.
Oh man! If you want to give us money, Bandcamp, or you can just send us money, or Spotify, everywhere. We're everywhere. Yeah. Keep us online, Facebook, Instagram. I hear people are using Instagram these days. That's what I found out in my, social media adventures for the band. Instagram. Okay. Yeah, just follow us there. We need more.
Okay, sounds good. Did I leave anything out?
No.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for doing this, Aviv.
Yeah, pleasure.
It was a pleasure. I'm glad you reached out.
Yeah.
Overlooked at dawn, beating, Try not to stop to check my phone. Never did feel so alone. And I hate how the sweltering days of the summer go by. And I found myself back at the wheel on the dusty old drive. To the place where we stopped and we gazed at the star-studded sky. I'm in love with the memory of us at the end of July. If I don't want you to, won't hear from me. It's the last thing I do. End of July. At the end of July. needing you to stay, and I say that I think I could love you. Well, I'm as shocked as you to hear it. It's the feeling I've come to. I would love to make you mine. If you just say yes. Did you hear just what I say? Got me into my little thing. Just say yes. Come on, baby, talk to me. Think I answer like a DJ. Just say yes. I should know just how hard it is to let it show, but here we go. Put your heart out on the line. If you take a look inside and you find that you think you can love me, we don't have to wait a minute. So just reach out and touch me. We don't have to waste no time. If you just say yes. Did you hear just what I say? Got me hanging my little thing. Just say yes. Fight with me right through the thick and the answer that I want to hear. When do you get off? I think we should take a sick day. You don't have to tell each other. By the way, I'm going to the fridge. Do you want to cry? Pound the passion. You know they're coming out with you lights. But overtime for me, baby. I wouldn't even ask for 1.5 pay. Would you like to? For only you can. Don't tell nobody. But let's make it you and I and on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Sometimes I want to be a bubble, a floating thin and fragile thing. Sometimes I want to be a bubble, so I can drift along the wind, and everyone can see right through me, while I cast colors like a spell. And maybe if they really focus, they'd see a little of themselves. Sometimes I want to be a bubble. I think that I could really help, 'cause everybody loves a bubble. It brings our people so much joy to be the first to lay a finger and have their own beauty to destroy. What would I be but separation between some air and other air? Yet I'd be cause for celebration of all the nothingness that's there. Sometimes I want to be a bubble, so I can get someone to care. And when you pull me high, just hope that you remember, bubbles can appear anywhere.
And that was the entire Bubble EP from Valipala. The first song, End of July, Lovesick, Joanne, Yes, Workplace Romance, and then Bubble, the title track. You can find them on Instagram at Valipala Music. I am online at talkmusictalk.com for podcast information and to stream every single episode. I'm also on social media at This Is Boice. And more requests for you. You can subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, many other places. Just search for Talk Music Talk with Boice. There is also a free app wherever you like to get your apps. Again, just search for Talk Music Talk with Boice. And don't forget my other podcast, the Strandcast, the official podcast of Strand Bookstore in New York City. Link in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, and there will be a next time, this one's for you, Liz.